everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Cowl. Today we are doing doilies as part of our unit on circles. So this is made in the round, going around, and we do lots of chains and single crochets, double crochets, and these cluster stitches, and a different kind of cluster on the outside stitches. So this is what we're doing today. I've done this in a DK light worsted weight yarn, number 3, and I've done it on a 4.5mm hook. And I'm just going to have a measure and see how big this is. Okay, here we go. So this is about 12 inches. So as I said, DK number 3 weight yarn and a 4.5mm hook, and that's brought mine to 12 inches. I have explained at the end of the video how you can change this up. You can use lighter, thinner yarn and a smaller hook and make it as dainty as you like, or you can make a big chunky rug from this. Actually, you could use really thick yarn and hook, or even finger crochet and make a big rug from this. That would be gorgeous. Gosh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So we're going to make this up. There are 11 rounds on this, and part way through I'm going to remind you to have a stretch and move, or we're all going to seize up by the end of it, or I would certainly. So grab hooks, yarn, scissors and a cup of tea, coffee, something to keep you refreshed, and let's get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with round 1 of our doily. So we're going to start with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 4, and we're going to slip stitch into the first chain to make a ring. Okay, if you prefer, you could use the magic ring. Okay, now we are going to chain 4, which counts as a double crochet and a chain 1. Okay, so chain 4, and that's our double crochet and a chain 1. And then we're going to do 15 times. We're going to do a double crochet into the ring and a chain 1. Double crochet, chain 1. Continue that around the circle, and you will finish with 15 double crochets and chain 1 spaces and your initial chain 4. Okay, when you've done your last chain 1, you're going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain of your initial chain 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, leaving 1 chain at the top. Just make your slip stitch in there. And that is your round 1 complete. So you should have 15 double crochets, and including your chain 3, that will make 16 altogether, and you'll have 16 chain 1 spaces in between. If you've used the magic circle rather than the ring, just remember to pull in your ring tight, and you can also do that when you've done the chain as well. You can pull it in a bit just to tighten up that center. And there we go, there's our round 1 finished. Okay, round 2, we're going to start making some clusters on this round. So we are going to do a chain 1, which doesn't count as anything, and then we are going to do a single crochet in the chain 1 space. So not in your stitch, but over in the chain 1 space, so it will be between each double crochet. Okay, so we're going to go between these 2 stitches, which your chain 3 and your stitch, and do a single crochet, and then chain 1, and then a single crochet in the next chain space, and then we're going to make a cluster. Now this cluster is made different to how you may have made clusters in the past, so stick with me. And what we're going to do is chain 3, and then we are going to do 2 double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So this one at the bottom, the first one you made. So 2 double crochet into that chain. Okay, and then we're going to do another chain 3 and slip stitch into that very same chain where you did your double crochets. You just do a slip stitch, and that is your cluster. Okay, so then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to again do a single crochet in the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, a single crochet in the next chain 1 space, and then another cluster. So we're only making 8 clusters. We've got 16 stitches or 16 spaces, but we're only making 8 clusters. Okay, so 1 is a single crochet and a chain 1, and then we do a single crochet and then we make the cluster. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, do 2 double crochet in that bottom chain, chain 3, and then slip stitch into that same chain that you did the double crochet into. Okay, and there's your second cluster. So then again we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the next space, and then your cluster. Okay, so you are going to do cluster, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and then a cluster. Okay, cluster, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, cluster, all the way around, and you will have 8 clusters at the end of this round, and 8 single crochets in between. Okay, when you've done your 8th cluster and chain 1, you want to slip stitch into your first single crochet, so that will be in between the next 2 stitches, just here. Okay, so just do a slip stitch in the top of that single crochet, and there we go. Let me just pull that out. There is round 2. It's looking an interesting shape with these clusters, but there we go. Okay, for round 3 we're going to be working into the single crochets in between the clusters, and we're going to be putting a sort of chain cage around, or arch around, each cluster. Okay, so what we're going to do to start with is chain 10. Okay, chain 10, and this will count as the first 3 chains will be your double crochet, and then there's a chain 7, so double crochet, chain 7. Okay, so there's a chain 10 there, and then we're going to skip over the cluster, and we are going to do a double crochet into the single crochet. Okay, so in between these clusters you have your single crochet. Okay, so we're going to do a double crochet into that single crochet. Okay, and you can see we've got this sort of chain arch, cage as I called it earlier, over the top of our cluster. Okay, so now what we're going to do is a chain 7. Remember I said this was a double crochet plus chain 7. So we've now done our double crochet and chain 7. So we're going to do another double crochet in the next single crochet. So skip the cluster and a double crochet in this single crochet here. Okay, and that is as easy as this round is. Double crochet, chain 7 double crochet in the single crochet, chain 7, double crochet, chain 7, double crochet. Okay, and I will see you at the end of the round to finish off. Okay, on your last chain you're only going to chain 5. Okay, chain 5, and then we're going to do a half double crochet. Okay, this will form part of our chain 7, but we're going to do a half double crochet, and we're going to do that in the 3rd chain of our chain 10, which will be like doing it in the top of a double crochet. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and do a half double crochet in that chain. Okay, and there we go. Lay this out, spread it out a bit, so you can see that we've got our clusters and they've each got this sort of chain going around them. Okay, that's round 3. So let's move on to round 4. Okay, so by nature of being a doily, it's going to be fairly lacy. So we're going to do more chains and single crochets to continue our lacy appearance. So we're going to start with a chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet into this same chain space. Remember I said this half double crochet counts as part of the chain space. Okay, so we're going to do a single crochet in this chain space. Okay, just like so. And then we're going to chain 5. Okay, chain 5, and then in the next chain space here, this chain 7, we're going to do a single crochet. Okay, and then we're going to chain 5, and we're going to do another single crochet in this same chain space. Okay, so we sort of have one over this side and one at the other side. Okay, 2 single crochets in one chain space. Okay, so then we are going to continue this around, doing chain 5 and single crochet in the next chain space. Chain 5, single crochet in the same space. Okay, and then chain 5, single crochet in the next space, chain 5 and another one in the same space. Okay, the chain 5 between them all, and 2 single crochets in each space. Continue that around and work your last space, and we'll finish the original one at the start together. Okay, so do all of these apart from this last one where we did our first. Okay, so I've done my 2 single crochets in this one here with my chain 5 in between, and now I'm going to be coming over to my next one. So I'm going to do that last chain 5, do a single crochet in the same chain that we started in. We started here, so I'm going to do a single crochet in there. And now this is where it's different. We're not going to do a chain 5. We are going to do a chain 2, and then if you remember the last round we finished with a half double crochet. This time we're going to finish with a double crochet, and we're going to do that in the top of this first single crochet. Okay, a double crochet in that stitch. And the reason we do this instead of the whole chain is because this double crochet does form part of this chain space, just as these around here. But if we'd have done the chain and slip stitched into this stitch here, then our loop, our working loop, would be here in this single crochet. But as it is, we're now in the center of this chain space. Okay, so it's where we want for starting the next round, in the center of this chain rather than over here, and that's why we sometimes do a stitch to finish rather than a chain. Okay, just to help you understand why we're doing that kind of different thing there. Okay, so let's move on to round 5. Okay, round 5, chain 5. Round 5 is again making some more of our lacy appearance, but with chains, but also adding in some picots, and they are very easy. If you've never done picots before, don't panic. Picots are just little knobby bits that make it look pretty. Okay, so let's start by chaining 1 and then do a single crochet into this chain space. Remember, this double crochet is all part of the same chain space, so do a single crochet in there. And then we're going to make a picot. So one of those little knobby bits that I just said. Very technical term there. So chain 3 and then go back into your first chain at the bottom and just do a slip stitch. Just pop your hook in, yarn over, pull through and pull through the loop on the hook. And there is your little knobby bit for your picot. Doesn't look much now, but when the rest is done, you'll see that you've got all these little sort of knobby bits, and it's basically a bigger version, sorry, a smaller version of these clusters in a sense, because these kind of gave us big knobby bits around our circle. I'm using such technical crochet terms today, but anyway, this gave us these big sort of bits sticking out, and this will give us lots of little tiny ones sticking out. So it's the same kind of thing, just on a smaller scale, more delicate. So we are now going to, for our repeats around, we're going to chain 5. And then we're going to do a single crochet in this chain space, just in the middle of the chain space. And then we're going to do a picot, so that's chain 3. And a slip stitch in that bottom chain. There we go. And then again, chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the next chain space. And a picot. Chain 3. Slip stitch into the bottom chain. And make that picot. And you're going to repeat this all the way around. And I will join you to complete this last piece here. So this is where we started, and I'll join you back around here to finish this last part. Okay, so I've done my last single crochet and picot, and then we're back to the initial single crochet we did here and picot in our first chain space. So what we're going to do now, instead of chain 5, we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to go into our first single crochet, so not the picot on top, but the single crochet underneath. We're going to do a double crochet, and that will finish our chain 5 space. Just as we've done on previous rounds, done a stitch at the end. Okay, so this chain 2 and our double crochet has formed that last chain 5 space. Okay, so if I spread this out, now it might be looking a little bit higgledy-piggledy at the moment. It might not look like it's going to lay out straight. It might be a bit scrunched up. But don't worry, it will all come good in the end. Just lay it out and have a look. And there you go. You can see it's starting to form up all these lacy chains. And you can see these little cute picots just sticking out at the tops of these chain spaces. Cute, cute, cute. So time for round 6. Okay, we're going to do more clusters in this round. So remember these clusters we did on round 2. We're going to do some more of those on this round, okay? And as always, lots more chains. So let's start off with a chain 1 and a single crochet in this very same chain space. Single crochet. And then we're going to make a cluster. So we're going to chain 3, 2 double crochet into that bottom chain, chain 3, and slip stitch into that same chain at the bottom. And there's your cluster, just as we did on round 2. Okay, now we're going to get into our repeat. So to do that, we are going to chain 7. And then we're going to do a single crochet into this chain 5. So we're going to skip over the top of the picot and do a single crochet in this chain 5. Okay. And then we're going to do a cluster. So chain 3, 2 double crochet in the bottom chain. Oops. If you can get your hook into the chain. There we go. 1, 2, and chain 3, and slip stitch into that same chain at the bottom. And there's your cluster. And then you're going to chain 7, single crochet in this chain space over the top of the picot, and single crochet into that chain space. Okay, and then your cluster 1, 2, 3 chains, 2 double crochet in that bottom chain, chain 7, sorry, chain 3, chain 7, my goodness, and then slip stitch in the bottom of that chain. There we go. Okay, so you're going to continue this all the way around. Single crochet, chain 7, then single crochet, and then do your cluster. Chain 7, single crochet, and then your cluster. All the way around, and just stop just short of where you started, and I will finish the last one with you. Okay, now if you take a look at your doily, if you spread it out, and you're not sure if you need to do another cluster in this part here, which that last part there can be a bit confusing. If you're not sure, then just count how many you've got, and you should have 16 by the end. You should have 16. Okay, if you've got 16, then that's enough. If you've only got 15, then you know you need to go into this space. Okay, so once you've got your 16, we're not going to do a chain 7. We're, as before, we're going to finish with a stitch. Okay, so a few chains and then a stitch. So we're going to chain 4, and then we're going to make a double crochet into this first single crochet we made. So over the top of the picot, and then you've got your single crochet. And make a double crochet into that stitch. And there we go. So that makes a chain 7 space, just as it's made spaces before. So that's just the same as these chain 7 spaces around. Okay, and there we go. There is round, oops, there's one there. Round 6 of our doily, looking lovely and lacy and pretty. And I can imagine if you have changed colours on this at all, that it's looking even prettier. Okay, so let's move on to round 7. Okay, round 7 is a nice simple round, no clusters, no picots, just double crochets and chains. So we are going to start with a chain 8. Okay, this chain 8 counts as a double crochet and chain 5. Then for doing our repeats, we're going to do a double crochet into this chain 7 space between our clusters. So double crochet in that chain space. And then chain 3. Scoot that over a bit. We're going to do another double crochet in the same chain space. Okay. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. We're going to chain 5, chain 5, double crochet over into this next chain space, one side of it, and then chain 3, and another double crochet in that same space. Okay, chain 5, double crochet into the next chain space, chain 3, and another double crochet in the same chain space. Okay, and that's what you're going to do all the way around. You're going to do chain 5, then double crochet in the next space, chain 3, and another double crochet in the same space, all the way around, and stop just short of the start, and we'll finish together. Okay, when you are back near to the space you started in, you are going to do your last chain 5 and your double crochet in that chain space, and then to finish off, instead of doing a chain 3, remember we've got this initial chain which counts as your double crochet and chain 5. So what we're going to do to link these two together is a chain 1, and then we're going to do a half double crochet in the 3rd chain of this chain 8 that we did. Okay, the 3rd chain up, and that will give you your double crochet there. Okay, so a half double crochet in that 3rd chain, and there we go. Let's spread this out, zoom out. There we go. So again, this is probably going to be looking a little bit sort of scrunched and higgledy-piggledy. I don't know why I try and say that word when it never comes out right. Oh dear. I think the sun and heat is getting to me today. So some of these clusters will be wanting to flip over. You just pop those back in the right place. Let's pop those back in, and there we go, looking lovely, lovely. Not quite circular at the moment, but it will as we progress, as you've seen so far that it does come good as we progress. So let's move on to round 8. If you're still with me and you've got something that looks a bit like this, well done, doing good so far. Let's go on to round 8. Okay, round 8, we are going to chain 1 and do a single crochet in the same space as we've done before, and then we're going to do a picot on top of this chain. So chain 3 and then do a slip stitch in that bottom chain to make a picot like we did before, and then we're going to chain 4, and then we're going to do a single crochet in this next chain space and a picot on top, chain 3 and slip stitch in the bottom chain. And you're going to do this all the way around. I'm just going to pop a stitch marker in my first chain space where I started, just so that I can see it. There we go. Okay, and then so chain 4, single crochet in the next chain space, and a picot on top. And that is as simple as this round is. Just chain 4, single crochet in the next space, and a picot. Okay, continue this all the way around to your last chain space, and then we'll finish off this last bit together. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so when you get back around to your last chain space, you've done your single crochet and picot, and this is the chain space we started in here. It's going to take this stitch marker out, and then we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a double crochet into this single crochet here. So you've got the picot on top and the single crochet here. So we're going to do a double crochet into there. Okay, so chain 1 and then a double crochet into that first single crochet, and that's us making our chain 4 there. That's our chain 4 space, just like we've got chain 4 spaces here. Okay, so that's the end of round 8 with all our little pretty picot points sticking out there. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Love it. Okay, so let's move on to round 9. Okay, round 9 is single crochets and chains. Okay, so we are going to start with a chain 1 and a single crochet into the same chain space. And then we are going to go around our circle and we're going to do chain 5 and a single crochet in our chain 4 space. Chain 5, single crochet in the chain 4 space, so skip the picot and do a single crochet. Chain 5, single crochet in the next space, skipping that picot, chain 5, over the picot and a single crochet in the chain space. And that is what you're going to do all the way around. Nice and simple. And again, when you get back near to where you started, which is just here, in fact this sort of disappears slightly as it's not sort of very big stitches, so you might find that it's helpful to pop a stitch marker in there. If you've changed colour, then you will automatically see where you started your round, but otherwise it may be useful to just pop a stitch marker in that first single crochet, because these do sort of all blend in together, so that will help you when you come round. So continue this, chain 5, single crochet in the chain space, and then when you get near to the end we'll finish off together when you get round in this last space. Okay, when you've done your single crochet in the last chain space before your stitch marker or before your last picot, you are going to do, instead of a chain 5, we're going to do a chain 2 and then a double crochet into that first single crochet. Okay, chain 2 and then a double crochet into that first stitch, and that makes your last chain space, and there we go. So gorgeous, as I keep saying. So let's move on to round 10, and then we have one more round after that. Cool, we're getting there, folks, getting there. Okay, for round 10 and round 11, we're going to be firming up the edges of this. This is all sort of just, you know, lacy chains. We're going to firm the edges up a bit with putting some double crochets in some of these chain spaces. Okay, so let's get started. I'm first of all going to put my stitch marker in this first chain space. So this is our chain space here. I'm going to pop my stitch marker in here so I know this is where I'm starting. Okay, it's my first chain space. It will be more obvious, but I'm just going to pop it in there anyway, as it's sitting there. Make use of it. So what we're going to do now is chain 1, and then, hey, as before, we're going to do a single crochet in that same space, and then we are going to chain 3, and we are going to do 5 double crochets in this next chain space. 5 double crochets. Okay, 5 double crochets. Chain 3, single crochet in the next space, chain 3, and then 5 double crochets in the next space. 5 double crochets. Okay, chain 3, single crochet in the next space, chain 3, and continue 5 double crochet in the next space, chain 3, single crochet in the next space. Okay, continue this all the way around until you get to the space just before the space you started in, and we'll do these last 2 together. Okay, so I'll see you soon. Okay, I've just done my last 5 double crochets, so now we're going to do the chain 3. Now if you look in the next space, this is where we did our first single crochet, so we don't need to do a single crochet in there. Instead, we're just going to have our chain 3 and slip stitch to the beginning single crochet. We haven't done many slip stitches in this pattern, but we are going to slip stitch this time. Chain 3 and then slip stitch to your first single crochet, and there we go. You can see how it's just firming up these edges and making it a bit more sort of solid, if you like. So gorgeous, love it. Okay, so we have our final round, round 11. So have a slurp of tea or coffee or whatever you're drinking today, and then let's get on to round 11. Okay, so for round 11 we are going to be basically we're going to be doing some more clusters and putting tops on these double crochets, and then some picot like stitches in between. Not picots, but it will look a bit like picots. So let's get started. I'm just going to pop my stitch marker in this first chain space to start with, just so I know where I'm finishing, even though it will be a lot more obvious on this round. Okay, so let's start. Let me just zoom in slightly. Okay, so let's start round 11 with a chain 8. This chain 8 will count as a double crochet and a chain 5. Okay, and then we're going to do a double crochet in the same stitch that we've just taken our chain up from. So this first single crochet here, make a double crochet. So this now basically counts as a double crochet and then a chain 5 and then another double crochet. Okay, and that's what we're going to do in some other spaces around. So we are going to chain 2, and then slip stitch in your first double crochet. So you've got your 5 double crochets here, do a slip stitch in the first one. Okay, so we've done that slip stitch, and now we're going to make a cluster over these next stitches. So we're going to do the cluster differently to how we did these ones down here. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to do a double crochet 4 together. So these next 4 stitches we're going to make together. So you've probably done a double crochet 2 together before, or more, but if you haven't, then I'm just going to show you that quickly now. So we do 4 incomplete double crochets. Okay, so yarn over, insert into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then we do the first step of yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and we leave that last loop on the hook. So you've got your loop for the hook and the loop for the stitch. We leave that on the hook, yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches. So we're leaving that last loop on the hook again. That's 2. So you've always got 1 more loop than the amount of stitches. So we've done 2 so far, and we've got 3 loops on the hook. So we do that again, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've now got 4 loops. Into the next one, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. You've now got 5 loops on the hook, so that's 1 for each of the 4 stitches and the 1 for the hook. So yarn over and pull through all 5 stitches, making a kind of triangle. Okay, and then you've got just 1 sort of top of the stitch here. Okay, and then we're going to chain 3, and we're going to do a slip stitch in this last stitch here at the end. So a slightly different cluster to how we've done them earlier, but forming a kind of top to these 5 double crochets here, making this kind of top here. Okay, so let's move on, and we're going to do a chain 2 and then a double crochet in this single crochet. And then chain 5, double crochet in the same single crochet. So we're repeating what we did right at the very beginning with that chain. So remember here I said this is like having a double crochet, chain 5 and double crochet. That's what we've just done here. Okay, double crochet, chain 5 and double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to start right again from the beginning of this repeat. So I'm going to show you this once more. So we are going to chain 2 and then do a slip stitch in our first double crochet, and then chain 3, and then we're going to do our double crochet 4 together, okay, pull through all 5 loops, chain 3 and slip stitch in that last double crochet. Oops, my yarn splitting. Okay, so let me just do that chain 3 again and slip stitch. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2, double crochet in the single crochet, and then we're back to chaining, chain 5, nearly forgot this part, and then double crochet back in the same single crochet. Okay, so then you're back to your chain 2 again, so you're going to do chain 2 and then your cluster, so chain 3, double crochet 4 together, chain 3, slip stitch, chain 2, and then do double crochet, chain 5 and double crochet. Rewind the video about a minute and a half to follow that repeat again, and then you're going to repeat it all the way around until you get to your last cluster. Do your last cluster here, and then we'll do the last part together. Okay, so I've done my last cluster here and I'm back to the start. So all we're going to do to finish off, if you remember, this was our chain 8, which counted as a double crochet and chain 5. So we're going to do our chain 2 that we would normally do, and then we're going to slip stitch in the 3rd chain up, 1, 2, 3, 3rd chain, and then we're going to fasten off because that's our last round. So slip stitch and then pull through, cut your yarn off, pull through and tighten that off, and there we go. So let me just zoom out and stretch this all out so you can see how it's looking. And there we go, there's my finished doily. I've sewn my 2 ends in. I've left the light off on my camera just for now so you can actually see the stitches and see the see it more clearly. When the light's on, it kind of you can't see the stitches as clearly with the light on the white. So this is what it's looking like, and I love it, love it. So you might have to pop these clusters like in the right place. They like to sort of come down a bit, so just pop them in the right place and then just give it a stretch out. You may wish to block this, so just use a thick towel or a padded mat and just pin it out in a nice circle. You might want to use something to draw your circle out first. Pin it out, spray it, and leave it to dry. So you may wish to do that, or you may be happy with it as it is, and I love it. You could use this as a centerpiece on a table. You could use it as a decorative wall hanging. If you had a large like embroidery hoop or something, you could just attach it to the hoop through these double crochet chain 5. These are the stitches that I said look a little bit like picots, even though they're not picots. So you could just attach it with some single crochets or slip stitches around your embroidery hoop or something, and then hang it up on the wall as a really pretty decoration. And obviously you can use any yarn and hook you like for this. So you could do it in really thin crochet thread and it'd be smaller and more delicate, like a sort of traditional doily from years ago, and then it would be washable. You could use it on plates for doing cakes and things, whatever doilies are used for, but it just looks beautiful as it is, and you could pop a plant in the centre or a vase or something. Would be awesome for that. You could make a few of these and you could attach them together. You could use these picot-like stitches here. You could use those to attach them together and make a long table runner, table covering. The possibilities are endless really for these. Just think back to sort of years ago and doilies, and they're making a bit of a comeback with the kind of shabby chic look. So yeah, they'd look great sitting on a table and in any colour. And like I said, have a go with thinner yarn and see thinner yarn and smaller hook and see how that works up too. I might have a go at some point with that. So this is our doily number 1 for today, and I love it. I hope you've enjoyed making this or just watching along, seeing how this works up. And if you have, then please show the love and some appreciation by clicking that like button. Give us a thumbs up. You know it's much appreciated. And if you're in our Facebook group, then please pop your photos in there. Show us what you've made. We love to see what you've made there. If you're on Instagram, then hashtag Beyond the Cal. Show us what you've made over on there. And if you wish to see the written pattern and the chart for this, then come over to the group and download the pattern, and you can have the written instructions as well as doily number 2. So until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.